I didn't become a victim of a false allegation when it happened to me. I became another recruit in the war against it.
My family and my name have been totally and permanently destroyed.
It's morphing into a witch hunt.
Always be presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty.
Hello everybody, I'm John Victor Ramses. In this video today, I would like to tell you about a very special man who became my best friend at Acacia Prison in West Australia. His name is Mr. Stuart William Dugan. I had seen him around the prison yard, often tending the garden, but had never spoken to him. My reputation for helping other prisoners with legal matters had spread, and one day Mr. Dugan shyly approached me with a faint glint of hope in his eye and asked me if I would help him with an appeal of conviction to the Supreme Court. At the time, I was chock-a-block with prisoner cases, including my own. But seeing the hope in his eyes, I couldn't turn him down. Mr. Dugan's case involved clear, false allegations of sexual abuse. His case and his appeal are in my possession. Over a lengthy period, I managed to produce an appeal with 9 rock-solid grounds, most proving his innocence. Mr. Dugan was aged 65 to 67 during those years. He had been extradited to Western Australia from his home in Victoria after the accusations had been made, and during those years I helped him. Mr. Dugan would tell anyone who would listen, "Johnny's my lifeline. He's going to get me out of here so I can go home to my family in Victoria." And I had sworn to him that I would. Because of that hope he found in me, those were the happiest times for Mr. Dugan, in spite being in prison, and had always been good-spirited, joking often and lifting others' spirits. Just a few months or so before his appeal hearing, Mr. Dugan began to show signs of being ill. He went to the prison doctor, but was told it was only a chest infection and was prescribed antibiotics. In the following weeks, he began coughing up blood. It became worse as the weeks progressed, and each time he went to the doctor, he was told, again, it was just a chest infection, and prescribed more antibiotics, all of which I documented, including the medications he was given. He grew weaker, losing weight rapidly, but still kept his spirits up, always thinking of others before him. Those of us closest to Mr. Dugan knew something was terribly wrong. We complained to the prison admin, as did 2 good officers, in order to get him the proper help. Then, during one night, they came and took him away. In the morning, after they unlocked us, we found Mr. Dugan's cell locked up. He was not there. Because of the hell that I and another prisoner and 2 officers had caused, any information about Mr. Dugan was clamped down tight. One of those good officers was redeployed as a result of fighting to get Mr. Dugan help, but to no avail. They wanted it all covered up, silenced, and I was threatened with harm if I didn't back off. I would never see my friend again. Some weeks later, I received a letter from Mr. Dugan, which had been smuggled into me by still another good, compassionate officer. The letter was a goodbye letter. My friend had advanced cancer in his lung. He was not going home to Victoria after all. my friend was going to die in just a few weeks. The doctors at Murdoch Hospital had told him that if he had been treated when he first complained, they could have saved him. But it had been neglected too long. Deliberately, I might add. I later learned through a reliable source, a nurse at the prison, that the prison had recently adopted a policy not to tell a prisoner if they had cancer, deeming them not worth the money to save them via expensive chemo treatments. In effect, my friend was willfully executed, given a death sentence. I wrote to the Supreme Court of Appeal to inform them that my friend, Mr. Dugan, had cancer and had only been given weeks to live. I requested that in compassion, his appeal hearing be moved forward. At the very least, I wanted my friend to leave this life the way he had entered it, innocent. But those bastards on the bench dismissed his entire appeal on permission for leave to appeal. This is a common tactic used by the Court of Appeals so that they never have to address the actual grounds in the appeal, which are always damning and unjust, and so the public can never see the corruption used to put an innocent man in prison, especially in cases of sexual allegation. My friend, Mr. Stuart William Dugan, passed away on the morning of 4 May 2017 in the presence of his elder daughters from a previous marriage, who had flown from Victoria to be with their father. All of this is recorded passionately in my journals, which I kept through the 6 years in prison, as well as having all of his notes and case documents in my possession, which I will one day publish in its entirety to the internet for the world to see and judge for themselves. When I was at last released from prison and deported from Australia on 31 December 2017, I carried Mr. Dugan's letter and a photo of my daughter, whom I was forced to leave behind, in the breast pocket of my jacket, close to my heart. Having said that, I would now like to read to you the letter that he wrote to me. He wrote 3 letters, in fact, each to a prisoner that was close to him, and each smuggled in by that same good officer. You know who you are, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. This is the letter that my friend had written to me. 20 years in Australia, and I still can't speak a bit of Aussie accent, so the Aussies, please forgive me. G'day, John. How you going in paradise? I'm okay, but shifted from one joint to another. I went from Acacia Prison to Midland Hospital for 9 days, then to Casuarina Prison for 1 night, then to Murdoch Health Campus, where I am now. It's good here. I have a single room that is so big you could fit 4 Acacia cells in my room. There's a big-ass TV, a video player, and my own fridge, and the bed goes up and down with the push of a button. There are sliding doors where you can go out into the garden, or you can see the garden from my bed. My daughters flew straight over when they found out that I'm buggered. They got here on Tuesday and go home on Saturday, and they haven't left the joint hardly at all. They are bloody good girls. We've been talking and have come to the conclusion that I'm the luckiest person on earth to have met and become friends with you, John. Words cannot explain my feelings that I have for your friendship. Don't give up on going over to Victoria so that you can see the real world. It's a sad state of affairs that I won't be able to share that experience with you. as I was looking so forward to that. I can't thank you enough for all the hard work you have done for me. Well, mate, there isn't much more to say except that I could be gone soon. When? Goodbye, my best mate. I'll love you and miss you forever. Stuart. And on the back of the letter, he had simply written, "Don't follow me." Well, needless to say, I was tore up for a long, long time after hearing that news. As you can probably tell, it still affects me to this day, and it always will. I was frantic to get a letter back to my friend, so I quickly ran over to use the prisoner's computer. And I typed out a letter to him that I will read to you now. To Stuart William Dugan, my dearest friend. When I came down the hall to say good morning and check on you and saw that your door had been double locked during the night, I knew in my heart that they had finally taken you to the hospital. I was relieved, for the condition of suffering you were left to endure in your cell was beyond inhumane. I knew something was terribly wrong with your health. We all did, those of us close to you. What I was not prepared for was the news that eventually followed. You had been ignored and neglected too long. None of this did you deserve. On the contrary, this isn't how the story was supposed to go. Not after all you fought for to be free and return to your precious Wodonga and beloved family, as you had so dreamed of and shared with me every day since I had known you. We're all devastated by the news. O'Kane, Charles, Norm, none more so than I. Neither I nor O'Kane have slept much since hearing the news. It's not just because of the heartache and the anger. That is one thing. But we don't want to miss a moment to hold you in our thoughts. Frodo put a prayer for you in church services on Sunday. Many here are with you in spirit, old friend. I've written a letter to Macca as well. He would want to know. I pray for a miracle to suddenly find its way to you. I've seen such things occur in my lifetime. But in the event that you have simply grown tired after this long, difficult battle for freedom, I cannot let you go without saying, in these living years, how much your friendship has meant to me. You became and will remain my best friend. We've been through a lot together. For 5 years you looked after me. When my hands could no longer hold a cup after the aneurysm, you bought me a cup with a large handle so that I could have a cup of coffee without dropping it. And not one day went by when you didn't ask if I remembered to get my milk before lockdown, or made sure I had enough coffee. Since you've been away, I've forgotten my milk at least a dozen times now. You were always concerned for me, and everyone else, in spite of your own hardships and troubles. Eric knows this well, and sends his love also. When O'Kane and I were wrongfully kicked out of Unit 3, you still made sure that we were taken care of. Frodo still hasn't recovered from when I dropped the egg sandwiches in front of the senior officers. He'll likely always have a slight twitch under his eye as a result now. There are 1,000 stories we've shared over these troubled years together, not least of which is catching O'Kane sneaking yogurt for himself. God, the laughs we've had in spite of this place. Who says prison can't be fun? You made it that way, with your quick wit and humor and antics. Won't the officers shit when they finally read my book and learn of all the mischief we got up to right under their noses? You always had a mischievous, cheeky grin and a gleam in your eye as if though you were up to something that only you knew of. But as I came to know you, I realized you merely saw the humor and irony in everything, no matter how bad the circumstance. You are a true blue Aussie. It is difficult for those who have never been in prison to understand the friendships we form, or that each other is all we have and depend on for mental and sometimes physical survival, or how many of us just should not be here at all. They will, though, in the fullness of time. You always referred to me as your lifeline to freedom, to home and your family in Victoria. We worked hard together on your appeal against every obstacle they could throw at us. But it was finally heard in the Supreme Court just 2 days before they took you to the hospital. I'm sorry it took so long. I don't know the final decision right now, only what it should be. But I swore to you I would never let it go, never give up on proving your innocence. And I reiterate that oath. Those responsible will be brought to account. This cannot go on anymore. If some psychic had told me that one day I would find myself in a foreign prison far from home, and that I would even come to call some prisoner's friend, I would have demanded my money back and laughed all the way out the door. But in the end, it would have been that psychic who had the last laugh, to be sure. You became and are my friend in the truest sense of the word. As devastating as this experience of being imprisoned has been on my life, well, frankly, except for the absence of my daughter these long years, I wouldn't have missed it for the world. Now I've seen it all for myself, endured it all, and now I know the truth. And I never would have met and come to know you, my friend. I'm glad I did. You've bragged of your family and homeland of Victoria for as long as I have known you. You made me watch every TV show about Victoria. You dreamed of showing it all to me personally, when we would eventually be freed. I cannot say what my own future holds, and God knows I miss my home and family and the Rocky Mountains. But I swear to you that one day I will visit your state of Victoria. And when I do, I know you will be there also, home at last, where you belong. My dear friend, of the countless words I have written over a half a century of my life, this letter is the hardest thing I've ever had to write. How do I say goodbye, my friend? My mouth seems forbidden to speak the word. My heart just can't accept it. Not after all. No matter what I say, it will never be all that needs to be said, and I will never get it all right. But again, I cannot let this moment pass in silence. As sure as we are born, we are condemned to die, someday, some way. It is therefore not the length of a life that one should endeavor to achieve, though life is sacred and precious, but rather, what did we do with the time we had that matters most? The time which we were sentenced to, the time we shared together, is treasured. And it will make a difference in the future, to be sure. More than anything else, my friend, I wish I could be there with you now, as you have always been here for me. But know that you are not alone. What I've said here to you, I say also for the men who know you and call you friend as well. How do I say goodbye, my friend? I will not say goodbye. You are always alive and well within my heart and my thoughts, and most assuredly in the stories I will tell. The world will come to know Mr. Stuart William Dugan, the man as I know you, not the number you were assigned. We are prisoners, We are friends, and we are innocent. I'm always with you, Stuart Dugan. Your friend John Victor Ramses, the 1st of March, 2017.
Hey, true blue, don't say you've gone. Say you've knocked off for a smoke out, and you'll be back later on. Hey, true blue, true blue, give it to me straight, face to face. Are you really disappearing? Just another dying race. Hey, true blue, true blue, is it me and you? Is it mom and dad? Is it a cockatoo? Is it standing by your mate when he's in a fight? Oh, will she be right? True blue, I'm asking you. Hey, true blue, can you bear the load? Will you tie it up with wire just to keep the show on the road? Hey, true blue. Hey, true blue. Now be fair dinkum. Is your heart still there? If they sell us out like sponge cake, do you really care? Hey, true blue. Why don't you join me, folks? Go on. True blue. Is it me and you? Is it me and you? Mom and Dad? Is it Mom and Dad? Cockatoo? Is it a cockatoo? Standing by your mate? Is it standing by your mate when she's in a fight? Or will she be right? True blue, I'm asking you. Singing that true blue. Is it me and you? Is it Mom and Dad? Is it Stewy too? Is it standing by your mate when he's in a fight? Or will she be right? True blue.